What we are seeing today is unlike anything this battle has produced since the first missile was fired, and we are coming to you with urgent breaking developments. Iran has sent out its biggest wave to far. Videos from Bnei, Brak, and Tel Aviv are coming in at the same time. We are receiving more footage than we can handle, from dozens of sites in both cities, all of which are capturing the same devastating truth. Fires, explosions, columns of smoke obscuring skylines, and unabated emergency sirens. People are taking refuge in subterranean stations, bomb shelters, stairwells, or any other place where concrete separates them from the falling objects. Furthermore, the Iron Dome architecture was never intended to handle the scale of what we are witnessing in these two cities at the same time, because neither in Tel Aviv nor in Bnei Brak is the Iron Dome managing it. Israel's decades-old system, which it has been recalibrating and absorbing wave after wave of this fight, which both Israeli and American officials have repeatedly described as adapting and holding, is no longer able to provide a substantial defensive layer over either city. This wave is causing a decrease in the number of interceptors that would typically rise to face approaching threats. The targeting solutions required by the defense are not being produced by the radar systems that would typically be tracking and cueing those interceptors. The architecture has been stretched past the threshold at which resilience and recalibration can make up for the systematic losses. The wave that the earlier waves were building toward is now here. Let's be specific about the differences between this wave and all of its predecessors, because the distinction is structural rather than merely scale-related. In our coverage, we have thoroughly examined the dual functions of each of the conflict's prior waves. Direct damage, hitting Israeli objectives, creating political pressure, and showcasing Iranian capabilities and resolve were the evident goals. Attrition was the less evident goal, which Iranian military strategists had incorporated into the operational plan from the start. Interceptors were consumed by each wave. Radar systems operated at their utmost speed with each wave. Every wave contributed to the gradual deterioration and exhaustion of a defense structure that cannot be immediately repaired after its depth has been compromised. The interceptor stockpile's first layer was exhausted by Wave 1. Wave 2 had a deeper depletion. The interception rates authorities were mentioning in press briefings began to deviate from what the ground footage revealed when Wave 3 forced the systems into the range where performance deterioration became apparent. Particularly over Tel Aviv, Wave 4, the biggest wave up until now, successfully neutralized the Iron Dome. The system continued to operate, but it failed to halt the necessary actions. The wave that the attrition was intended to facilitate is currently taking place. Iran evaluated the degradation while waiting and observing the depletion curve, and it fired when its military experts determined that the defenses over Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak were so weak that a simultaneous mass attack on both cities had a chance of success that no wave before it could have. We are currently witnessing the outcome. The film streaming in from both urban regions, the simultaneous impacts, the defensive system that exists in name but not in practice, and the two cities all convey the story more plainly than any official statement from either administration. It is no coincidence that these two cities have been targeted together. It is intentional and shows a thorough knowledge of political psychology as well as military geography. Israel's business and economic hub is Tel Aviv. Financial institutions, the technological industry, the media infrastructure, and the Israeli state's commercial architecture are all located there. The cameras are located there. The International Press Corps is headquartered there. Every country seeing this conflict is forced to react to a visual reality that no official statement can handle, thanks to the strikes on Tel Aviv that produce the photographs that go viral across the world and make it to the top pages of newspapers in Washington, London, and Berlin. Tel Aviv, one of Israel's most crowded cities, with a sizable and firmly established civilian population, is just next to Bnei Brak. The impact of this tsunami is not localized in the financial and commercial sectors that can be characterized strategically by striking Bnei Brak alongside Tel Aviv. It is typically seen in residential areas, apartment complexes, and streets where families reside. The human aspect of the current situation in Bnei Brak is not strategic infrastructure. It's humans. Iran is aware of the distinction between those two targeting options and what they convey to the Israeli public and the world community. There is a strategic justification for striking the economic hub. A human argument is made by contrasting it with Bnei Brak's residential density. Tonight, both arguments are being made at the same time. This dual targeting logic is reflected in the current footage coming from both cities. We are witnessing consequences from Tel Aviv in regions that were hit at lesser densities in earlier waves, a concentration and escalation of the initial effects. We are witnessing something from Bnei Brak that, prior to tonight, was not the main visual narrative of this battle. Impacts from a wave that the defense systems above it can no longer intercept at significant rates are absorbed by the dense residential urban fabric. Let's be honest about the current condition of the Iron Dome above these two cities. Because practical realities and official declarations have become so different that they must be dealt independently. The Iron Dome is still referred to as active by the government. The batteries are still in place. Systems continue to be powered. Technically, that is correct. However, operational in the sense of offering significant defense against the quantity and nature of Iran's fire in this wave. That is a question for another time. Furthermore, the response that is seen in the video differs from what the official description suggests. The main weapon of this biggest round of the fight is still the Fatah missiles that Iran switched to in the previous waves. The ongoing conflict has made it more difficult to intercept their hypersonic terminal phase, which is the last drop at speeds between Mach 13 and Mach 15. In fact, rather than improving the engagement geometry, the deteriorated tracking and queuing infrastructure supporting the interceptors has made it worse. The window of opportunity for a successful physical interception has not expanded. As radar systems have been operated at maximum operational tempo through 4 previous waves and interceptor stocks have been exhausted, the system's ability to take advantage of that window has become more limited. The film from Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak tonight documents the convergence of those two factors, a threat that was already at the edge of the system's design parameters, and a system that has been gradually depleted toward the edge of its operating capacity. Let's now discuss the implications of this for America's role in this war. The senior partner in this effort was the United States. American carrier strike groups, American strategic bombers, American electronic warfare support, and American precision weapons. Was not only that the operation would accomplish its goals that was impliedly promised, it was implied that American technology and capabilities would govern the environment and that the war would take place inside the bounds that American military strategists had established and could control. Tonight's events in Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak are a clear rejection of that commitment, a fundamental failure of the operational assumption that American and Israeli capabilities would so outweigh Iranian military capability that Iran's ability to conduct sustained large-scale retaliation would be degraded before it could be brought to bear at decisive scale, rather than a tactical setback or a manageable complication. It did not degrade Iran. The defense was being attrited by Iran, and it has since been eliminated. In the next few hours, American officials will be on camera, trying to maintain some semblance of the operational narrative while framing what is taking place. They will cite Iran's defeats. They will point to the harm that Israeli and American strikes have caused on Iran's military capabilities and infrastructure. Despite the visible proof of Iranian missiles hitting Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak supporting their claims, they will maintain that the operation is accomplishing its strategic goals. Because the footage is not abstract, it will be very challenging to maintain that frame. It's not operational evaluations or statistics. The density of fires that can be seen throughout the Tel Aviv skyline is higher than any prior wave. It has an effect on Bnei Brak's residential streets. 2 nearby cities are being hit at the same time by defensive systems that are no longer provide effective defense. Every American voter is doing a quick calculation as they watch this. Is the outcome displayed on those screens worth the total expense incurred, regardless of the operation's strategic goals and the rationale behind its launch? 2 American planes were shot down, the Strait of Hormuz was closed, gas prices went up, and now there are pictures of Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak being hit at the same time by a defense structure that American technology was meant to render impenetrable. The administration does not benefit from that calculation, and the political fallout will be gauged by election outcomes rather than news cycles. This tsunami has produced a domestic predicament for Israel that is unlike anything the contemporary state has ever encountered. Tonight's unique set of circumstances, two of its most populous cities burning at the same time, a defense architecture that has been rendered ineffective, and an American partner whose domestic political standing raises doubts about the sustainability of its commitment, call for a prompt and conspicuous response. Israel will react. It will be the most drastic escalation of this confrontation to yet. When the Israeli public is seeing images like are currently coming from Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak, there is no military or political option to a harsh response. However, the strategic trap still exists. It has become more profound. In an environment where Iran has shown it can sustain mass strikes against Israel's most populous urban centers, where the defense architecture that was supposed to make those cities safe has been systematically dismantled wave by wave, and where the interceptor stocks and radar operational capacity needed to restore meaningful protection cannot be rebuilt at the pace this conflict is consuming them, Israel and the United States are incapable of mounting any further escalation from this point on. Being conveyed via every middleman, including Oman, Qatar, Turkey, and any other party that has kept in touch with both sides. Before moving on to the next stage, this must end. Prior to Iran carrying out the attack on the U.S. fleet, that the whole depletion strategy has been preparing for. Before an Iranian reaction to Israel's reaction to tonight's wave moves the war into a new dimension that neither side has completely charted. The race that is taking place concurrently with everything visible in the footage coming out of both cities right now is whether those channels can produce something quickly enough, whether a ceasefire framework can be put together and accepted by both sides, before the operational momentum of this conflict carries it past the point where stopping is still an option. We won't be abandoning this coverage. Our teams are following the U.S. political response, keeping an eye on all diplomatic channels, keeping tabs on events in Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak, and keeping an eye on the Persian Gulf for any signs that Iran's naval phase of the strategy is starting to transition from planning to implementation. This conflict's biggest wave is still ongoing. Both cities are still under attack. The video is currently being received.